Hello to everybody out there. It's Dan Sfera, www.theclinicaltrialsguru.com. Today's post is going to be related to something that I read in CenterWatch. Free plug for them, by the way. They have a monthly newsletter, and I think it's worth the money still. There's some debate about whether this stuff should be free, but content is king, and I guess they definitely do a good job of highlighting industry trends and things like that. This is like one of those trade journals for clinical trials professionals. But even if you're a study participant, you may not even want to read this stuff. But they have a good website where you can find studies, you can find some more information about what clinical trials are, and things like that. And CenterWatch is pretty good. The CenterWatch Monthly I recommend again for all the research professionals out there. Although this month I'm noticing it's kind of light. So what's going on? I mean, I know that people are taking their summer breaks and whatnot, but it's kind of light this month, man. Just a couple articles. But anyways, one of the articles that I found interesting was rising protocol complexity. And for those of you guys out there, because this blog is aimed at study participants, um, basically clinical trials are getting tougher. And what that means for you as the study participant is more procedures for you and probably more time that you need to spend in the clinic when you go for a study visit. The bad news is you probably won't be paid any more than you were in the past. So an average outpatient study visit may last 1 to 2 hours. You may get 50 to 70 bucks. Well, you know, some of those visits are turning into 3 or 4 hour visits. You're still getting 50 or 70 bucks. Here's some figures. Unique procedures per protocol. Um, in 2000, between 2000 and 2003 was around 20.5. Between 2004 to 2007, 28.2. That's significant. That's a 38% change. So you're getting 38% more procedures, you, the study participant. You have to go through 38 more procedures, and so you're having to basically sacrifice more time for the clinical trials. So for those of you out there wondering, maybe you've done studies in the past, maybe you've done studies in the late 90s, early 2000s, and maybe you've just started a trial this year or last year, and you're saying, hey, I thought, clinical trials were easier before. You're right, they were easier before, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't do them. They're probably still worth checking out, but just don't have any unrealistic expectations. Don't go into a site thinking that, or don't go into a study thinking that it's going to be easy when they're getting harder. They're getting more complex. Also, what it means, and they highlighted this in the article as well, inclusion-exclusion criteria are getting tougher because there's more criteria that needs to be looked at. So you may have qualified for a study 5 years ago, and you may not qualify for that same study today. That's another thing that's changed from even 5 years ago till today. So more procedures per visit. You may not be able to get into every study you want, and that's the way it is. And basically, there's not much you can do except have your expectations in line with what's the reality of the situation, and that is that protocols and clinical trials in general are getting tougher. Now, the research clinics out there, they are trying to lead their study participants through these changes. You may notice that you're spending more time with your study doctor. They may be giving you extra snacks when you go in there. Basically, they want you to be happy, and they understand that you're going to be doing more procedures, and the clinical trials may be more difficult than they were in the past. So they want to keep you happy. They want to keep you motivated to keep coming back. But for those of you out there who are saying, well, studies used to be easier Is it just me, or were studies easier 5 years ago than they are now? The answer is yes, they are, and you're not crazy. They really are getting tougher, and it doesn't look like it's anything that's going to change anytime soon. If anything, they're going to get even more tougher. And what I predict is that clinical trials are going to get more niche. So instead of just seeing depression, you're going to be seeing depression with, social phobia or things like that. So you're going to see a lot more niche studies. There's not going to be these one-size-fits-all type of studies anymore. Those are getting a little less frequent, and you're going to be seeing a lot less of those. So trials are getting more complex. You're going to be prepared to spend more time in the research clinic than you did 5 years ago, and be prepared to do more procedures. The pay is the same, but the level of care that you will receive is probably better because you're going to be spending more time with the research professionals and the doctors. Hope this helps. Would love to hear from all of you guys out there. Maybe you've done a study 5 years ago and you're doing one now. Would love to hear the difference. And from the research professionals out there, let me know what some strategies are that you guys are using to improve your retention rates and help your study participants navigate through these increasingly complex protocols. www.theclinicaltrialsguru.com. Thanks a lot.